Welcome to yet another M&S Creativist production where we talk to people who have made an impact in the communities where they reside. And for this episode, we are interviewing Mr. George Franklin Mlalazi, an educator of reckon, headmaster, teacher, education officer over the years, and a man who has been married for many years. As we go into this episode, I want to take time to give a shout out to Blessings Nyati, who has provided the instrumentals for the episode we did with Mr. David Kotlisa and this particular episode. And over to you. Should you have any person you believe to have made an impact in the community where they reside and you wish M&S Creativist to cover such an one, please contact us at +263 775 665545. Partner with us and let's see how we can go around airing these episodes to people and make an impact. Without much ado, please do be blessed as you listen to Mr. Mlalazi speak to us.
Hello everyone, it's nice to be with you, although I don't see who you are and where you are. My name is Franklin Mlalazi, George Franklin Mlalazi if you want. I was born in 1941, started school at Shashani in Kezi, 1948, where I did sub A and B. And then my father moved to Gunde in the Kwekwe district, where I did up to standard 3. And then I came to Lower Gwelo for standards 4, 5, and 6 before I went to Solusi for forms 1 and 2. And then I came back for teacher education at Lower Gwelo in 1959 and 60. So I started teaching after in 1961, and I was posted to Shurugwi then, now Shurugwi, and I did some 11 years there before I went to Solusi to teach at the primary school. Then when I came back from Solusi, I joined Lower Gwelo again, and then after that, I left in 1977 to do some work at UZ, University of Zimbabwe. It was University of Rhodesia then. And then after that, I came back and taught at Lower Gwelo. I became education officer, and then I reposted back to Lower Gwelo as headmaster, where I retired from. First, I came to Lower Gwelo in 1974 when I left Solusi. See, I wanted my wife to get a job as well. Solusi couldn't accommodate her, so requested to come to Lower Gwelo where she got a job as well. So we came to Lower Gwelo in 1974, 75, 76. In 77, in March, that's when I left to go to the University of Rhodesia. I was teaching at the primary school, and at the primary school, normally you teach all the subjects. And in 1974, when I first came here, I wanted to make a name for myself. And strangely, the regulations did not allow more than 45 pupils in a class, but I had 46. And I want to say here, every one of them passed well enough to go to a secondary school. There were 8 that went into grade 8. The rest went into Form 1, which was a higher qualification class. But everyone passed, and they all went into the secondary school. She was young, although she's not very young anymore. Now, she was teaching at Hanke, an SDA institution. So that's where I met her, and we got married in 1970 in December. In 1977, I left primary education and went to UZ, University of Rhodesia. Then, after doing 3 years there, I came back as a secondary school teacher. So I started secondary education in 1980. I became a teacher for Ndebele, that's the language that we use here, and also for the religious studies, Bible knowledge, and then some counseling, guidance and counseling. Yeah, 1980 to what year was that? When I went, 1987, I think it was 87. That's when I was appointed a district education officer before I became education officer with the Ministry of Education, and we're based in Gwelo. Yeah, the church requested, I think they no longer had any headmaster, so they came to Ministry of Education and requested that I come to Lower Gwelo as head. Well, consider this, because I was getting older and older too, I thought it was no longer meet for me to be spending nights in the bush, out in the forest, so I thought it was all right for me to come and settle down. And so I came here in the year 2000. In the first year I went out teaching, there was a boy there known as November Mchia. That boy was a genius. I remember I taught Standard 5 then. And after the Standard 6 examinations, I got the English paper that they had written, and I gave it to my class. He got everything right when he was doing Standard 5. Wow. There was also a young lady, Alice Bahera. She also was very good. She was in that class. And there was somebody, Shadrach Majandu. At the end of the year, November was number 1, Alice was number 2, and Shadrach was number 3. Those people were outstanding in class. And actually, I was very proud of those children. They were so good. Yeah. Well, I taught in the primary school for quite a number of years, and I met some Elizabeth Mwamuka. Elizabeth Mwamuka is now Mrs. Can't remember the husband's name, but she also was very good. Mrs. Chagwinya, Mrs. Chagwinya, she is. She was another genius, a very intelligent woman. I was very proud of her work. Well, it's difficult to remember everybody really, but these were, I'm just highlighting those that I still remember, that come back to my memory. I would not miss Ephraim Lovo. He's a lawyer in Harare. That one is a genius. At one time, he even wrote a an article which he posted around about Mr. F.G. Mlalazi. And I was surprised. But he came here 2000 when I came here. So we were newcomers together. And at the time I left after about 6 years, he also had finished his Form 6. He was sent to places where he became leader of the junior parliament, went to Harare, he became leader of the junior parliament, and now he is a prominent lawyer, and he has been standing for many people, even around here. He's prominent. He has done quite a lot, and he came back one time here after he became a lawyer. He was a guest of honor on a prize giving day. Woo! Everybody was really touched by his. He's a very cute somebody. He is now a married man, and he sometimes comes here to visit me. Well, the others, I don't know if I can remember many. What I may say is that, when I first came here as headmaster, I addressed the school and I told people in a chapel gathering about Booker Taliaferro Washington and how he had done his school, what difficulties he had gone through, and how he had, acquitted himself. Boys nicknamed me Booker after that. I didn't know about it for a long time until afterwards. And so when Ephraim wrote his article, he included this. And to me, it was something that was rather funny because everybody thought I was a booker, and I was acquitting myself in a wonderful way, just like Booker did. But I expected all my boys to do just like Booker Washington did. So many boys I can't remember. Sometimes you can't remember those that are playing low profile, but those that are outstanding, you do remember them. But time has been long and I can't remember most of them. But Ephraim was not the only one, but only that I think he was a cut above all the others. Yeah, the man who brought me here from Solusi was a white man, Mr. Lawson. Mr. Lawson was I thought, by my standards, a good man, one that was very helpful. And there are so many things that he used to help me with. And at the primary school, I worked with Mr. Mazunda. He was a Malawian origin. That man was good. He was intelligent in a number of ways. He was helpful to me. And there's few things that he really gave me which I cannot drop even today. Mr. Mazunda is late now, but I'm very grateful I worked with him. Well, there are several other people I may cite. At the secondary school, I did work with Gray Nyati. He also is late. Yeah, but he was somebody you could really depend on. He had his brains a little further than what most people he had. So he was somebody who was really helpful. At one time, he was headmaster while I was his deputy. I worked as his deputy for some time. And in fact, I became deputy when he had been called to GTC, Gwelo Teachers College, to lecture there. He had been actually forced to go there because I think the government didn't have enough teachers. So they called him there. He didn't want to go, but he had to do it because he was actually forced, as I say. So he did only 1 year there, and after 1 year, he came back. And while he was away, I became deputy head in his place. So when he came, he was supposed, the headmaster then said he wanted to have 2 deputies, him and myself. I said, no ways. That place I was only holding for Mr. Nyati. So now that he has come, please, I'm hands off. So he remained a deputy head. And when that headmaster left, Gray became headmaster, then I became his deputy. So we were able to work together for some time. The biggest problem I find with many teachers today is that they are no longer as committed to their duty as we were in our days. I spoke to somebody one day and said, you people should be at school at this time. They said, we work, our work is equivalent to what we are being paid to do. But you know, in our days, even this thing called extra lessons, we could call pupils during holidays to give them some extra lessons for no cent, for no money. There was no payment. We had the children at heart. Now, most of our teachers, things have changed. I must confess. What I see and what I behold around, I think is different from what we knew. Teachers stay in Gwelo and come to school in the morning, and before school is out, they've got on buses, they've gone back to Gwelo, and some have gone to their businesses. In our days, no teacher could have a business. We were told that it was taboo for anybody to run a business, and the few that were stubborn would probably register their businesses with some other person outside so that they could concentrate only on their work. Now, our teachers these days, I'm not trying to blame them, I'm not trying to castigate them, but according to my assessment, I think there's a lot to be desired. We need teachers who are more committed. I have seen, I'm staying at home here now, I have seen pupils coming from around the schools. They go there in the morning, and then when they get to the school, they are told teachers are not there, and you find them walking back to their homes. What is that? It's far from what we knew is work for teachers. Teachers were given to their work, and they would work there even after school. When school was out, they could bring some weaker pupils to special lessons so they could help them. But I wonder if this is still the spirit that is being held by teachers. Well, I don't know what one could do to implant a spirit of commitment. Education is, to me, fallen. Standards have really fallen. I'm sorry to say this. It's not the best of things, but for those that are doing well and good. But I think the majority of our people have dropped the standards. It's difficult to remember now, but you are sure as you're speaking that not everything will go well. Not everything is in an apple pie order throughout life. There are certain things that you will find that may have been not as palatable as they might have been. The first year I went out teaching, I remember there was a boy who became what I thought rude. And because he had been so, I don't know what word to use, insolent, and he didn't want to do anything in the classroom. He said, I don't want to do that. And then he decided to walk out. And I said, but you need an exercise book to do your arithmetic. It was arithmetic then. Said, my father didn't give me the money, so I'm going out. So I tried to plead with him. Unfortunately, as a young teacher then, I think I missed the step where I was supposed to get to the headmaster and tell him the problem I was facing. I just sent that boy out and said, get out of here, get away from here. I'm removing you from my register. I can't deal with a thing like that. I mean, with a person like that. He went out, and I only told the headmaster about what had happened, well, some time later. I told him I didn't want that boy back in my class. He had been so insolent. The headmaster said, well, if he had been like that, let him stay out. It's his fault. But 2-3 days later, he came back with his father and another man. They spoke to the headmaster and they requested that the boy be taken back. It wasn't very easy for me to swallow my pride. But the headmaster then called me and we sat together. We spoke at length, and then eventually I said, okay, let him come back. So he came back. He was there for 1 day, second day, and the third day I realized he wasn't writing arithmetic. Still, he didn't have the exercise book. And I said, but how can we go on like that? Well, he had no answer. I said, please, you go home and get a book. You must do these exercises. And when he left, when he went out that day, he went away for good. He never came back to class. I sent people to ask to request him, to ask him to come back. Somehow, I don't know how he had been. I just don't understand what happened, but he refused to come back to school. So it's something that really bothered me and it worried me. But I thought probably my mistake was that initially I had dealt badly with him. I had sent him out myself, and therefore he didn't want to come back to school. It's something that really worried me for some time. Well, there's nothing else I could do after I tried to bring him back and he refused. One thing I may say about myself is that I did not do history. I didn't like history. From the time I went to Standard 4, the teachers that taught history, the first thing that made me hate history was the memorization of dates. Van Riebeeck, 1654, Bartholomew Dias, 1480. I thought I was not very good at memorizing things like that. So it just made me not like history. But strangely, when I taught, we used to have those textbooks for geography, history, nature study, and so on. A boy I had taught in Standard 4, somebody, Wilson Temiri, I think was his name, joined the police in Bulawayo. And from him, I got a letter to say, Mr. Mlalazi, the way you taught history to us was just wonderful. All of us enjoyed history better than any other subject. I couldn't understand what he meant. History to me was taboo. But somehow, he told me history was just wonderful. And another time, I think it was standard, yes, I was teaching standard 5. There was this youngish boy, Simon Washoma. After we had been doing the great trek, he says, after the lesson, Nai teacher, that was in Shona, oh, sir, kasi ku great trek kwacho iko ku maibeko. In other words, were you there during the time of the great trek? And I said, why, Simon? He said, the way you present these things is immaculate. It's just wonderful. I said, well, I just have to teach these things. But what beats me is that history was not my favorite. But somehow when I taught history, my boys felt I did very well. And right through, I think I taught Ndebele to a Form 4 class. What year was that one? I can't remember. I was surprised. I can't remember. In that year, I had so many A's. Many pupils got A's in Ndebele. I just couldn't understand how it happened. Well, it was the brightness that just came to my experience. I was also very happy, but I was surprised why so many children got A's in their passes. See, an A is the best pass, B, C, and so on. But A's, I was surprised why they got so many A's. And after that, well, when we become an administrator, you have to share classes and administration. I think some of my work was compromised. When I became headmaster, it was better because I spent all my time in the office. But as deputy, I had to be a teacher and be an administrator at the same time. So those are some of the things I can remember offhand, but they are not things I have always wanted to write home about, really, because it was just work. To me, it was something that I really enjoyed doing. When I was doing sub standard A and B at Shashani, I was very young. I went to school when I was very young. But those 2 years, 1948, Pastor Burton Jelly got married to Alice Ndiweni when I was in sub A. And the following year, 1949, Pastor S.P. Dube, Simeon Dube, married his sister to Alice. Can't remember her name, first name, but those became their wives. I was connected to those two people for a long time. And being married in church as a Seventh-day Adventist was something that really inspired me. And I really wanted to follow their example. Later, I went to various schools. There were people at Solusi like Dr. Clark, Pastor H. Mattison, and those were very good inspirations. Dr. Clark, you remember at Solusi, sometime during that time, there was the teachers were not forthcoming. I don't know how they couldn't get teachers. When I did my Form 1, Form 2, Form 2, there were 76 of us, 40 in one class, 36 in the other. And when we wrote examinations, 9 passed in one class and 1 in the other. That was 10. And Dr. Clark was really worried. He had to drive to Salisbury, Harare now, and try to find out what had gone wrong. When he came back, he revamped the whole thing and changed the teachers and did a number of things. And from then on, the results of the school improved. I had left Solusi. I was now this side at Lower Gwelo. But I liked what he did. And the problem then remained with the higher classes. There had been at Solusi what they called the JMB, Joint Matriculation Board, a South African course. For many years, no one had passed not a single person had passed at Solusi. But people were passing at Tegwani. People were passing at the other schools, but no one at Solusi. And he looked into this, and Dr. Clark got teachers, and of course the course was changed. They then took what was called the National Senior Certificate, and after that there was a new course called the Cambridge Certificate, but results improved at Solusi. They became much better. I thought what he did was a good example, and whenever I went and wherever I taught, I knew that certain things could be done if somebody put himself behind something. Dr. Clark was an inspiration to me. We had 6, one son, Kalegatle Atkins, twin girls, Tembelani and Tembegile. The next one is Pepile Lindsay. We had a misfortune in 2015 when one of our daughters, the second last daughter, Spilisiwe Lorebeth, passed away. The last one, Nonhlanhla Lucille. What I can say is that that's a difficult subject you are talking about. Nobody can say that's a very easy thing. You can ride over it with ease. There are hiccups here and there are ups and downs in every marriage. But the only thing I can say to people is that, you see, many people, I was saying this yesterday to some people, is that most of our problems today come only because we have decided to get hold of God, wrap him up in a sack, open the window and thrown him outside. And we've thought that we can manage our own things all by ourselves. That's not possible. Things work out only if God is here. That's what David will tell us in the book of Psalms. That's what many other writers in the Bible will tell us. God is still there. He is still our source of life. Anybody, any marriage that throws God out of the window will definitely end up in a shambles. Let us all know that God is there. Learn to talk, communicate between yourselves, and don't hesitate. Don't think it difficult to laugh. Many people do not want to laugh. Laughing is a medicine that will make things work. But in most marriages, that's a forgotten word. That's a forgotten exercise. Laughing and even playing, when people get older, playing becomes a little difficult. I remember when we were young, she would be walking along the aisle here and I would, walk very stealthily behind her, just pick up her dresses and put them over her head, and I would run away and laugh. Those things are necessary in a marriage. If you're going to think things are just, marriage is just, something that will work out itself out, you are mistaken. Joys come when people laugh and play and laugh and play and get the rightful friends that will be, helpful all the time. Not just anybody, just people who are going to be helpful to you. Pastor A.V. Edwards was at Solusi. He taught us Bible knowledge when we were young. And what he used to say was, get God-fearing parents to advise you. Not just anybody. Many people will try to play the game and think they know, but it's God-fearing parents. We have had many people suffer because they get advice from people who don't fear God. Marriages will work only if you have people who are God-fearing. I wish people could learn that. At one time, right here, I don't know whether I should mention this one, but there were people that wanted to take teachers. People came here to take teachers at night. And they were going to, I don't know what they did with what other people that they collected at night. And we were supposed to be taken. What year was that now? No, I can't recall exactly what year, but all I know is that they came, and later, in their own words, they said, we had come to collect you people, and at the gate, we found there were two men dressed in white and holding swords. And we tried to go through, they wouldn't allow us. So that's why we came to take you by day. And by day, they took us locked us up in prison and for those 14 days that they allowed to keep us. And, they were able, they released us after that. But the story went out, and we heard some people talking about this thing from overseas. Some people said, hey, we heard that you people keep some people at night at the gate. I said, no, we don't know anything about that. All we do is to tell our Lord what we want. And He saved us from that, from that ordeal. And it was because of prayer, nothing else. We were given to prayer. And you remember at some time, even after church, every day after the service, we had organized ourselves into all the elderly people and those that were willing. Students would come and we could pray there and tell the Lord this institution was His and therefore He was supposed to take care of us, and He did. Right now, we are given to pray for our students here, and I'm not surprised that the students here, our results here, are sometimes among the best because we give our children to the Lord to take care of, and let alone coming here at home at night. We want to conduct our prayers every evening and pray for our children, and pray for our fellow workers, and pray for this school, and we don't leave it out. We are given to prayer, and it is my considered opinion that the Lord has kept us so far because we have seen certain things that have really wanted to take our lives, but the Lord has seen us through.
Ladies and gentlemen, there you have it, Mr. Mlalazi, as he spoke, the pain cut through. As he spoke, the passion filtered through. He is a man who has a lot of experience under his belt. I'm sure you have been enriched, blessed, and enlightened. Until we meet again, blessings and peace.